Good morning, students. Today we are going to continue with the same chapter and we are going to focus on winds. And we are going to learn more about winds and also stress and emphasize on planetary winds. Now, what are winds? The horizontal movement of air related to ground surface is called a wind. The movement of air is due to variation in atmospheric pressure caused by the uneven heating of the earth by the sun. So here we can see that when the sun is shining, the land gets heated faster, while the water remains cooler. So a high pressure builds up on the water while a low pressure builds up over the land. Winds always blow from areas of high pressure towards low pressure, and this leads to the occurrence of wind. The rate of change in atmospheric pressure between two places is called the pressure gradient. The greater the difference in pressure between the two places, the faster the wind will blow. Now let us understand, what do we exactly mean by this deflection of winds? Now this deflection of winds occurs due to the Coriolis effect. According to the Coriolis effect, winds do not move in a straight path, be it in the northern hemisphere or southern hemisphere. Winds do not move in a straight path. They deflect to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. The Coriolis effect is, however, absent at the equator, but its strength increases as one moves towards the poles. The Ferrel's law also states that any object or fluid which is moving horizontally in the northern hemisphere tends to be deflected to the right of the path of the motion, and in the southern hemisphere, the moving object will tend to be deflected to the left of the path of the motion. Now, since we are learning about winds, we have to learn about primary winds, secondary winds, and local winds. But in this video, we are going to concentrate only on the primary winds or the planetary winds. Now, the primary or the planetary winds blow regularly in the same direction in certain latitudinal zones corresponding to the major pressure belts of the world and are known as prevailing winds or the permanent winds or the primary winds. The major planetary winds are the trade winds, the Westerlies, and the Easterlies. So we are going to learn in detail about the primary winds in this module. So let us talk about the trade winds. Now the name trade winds, what do we exactly mean by this, and why are these winds known as trade winds? Trade means business, and these winds were very important, especially during those ancient days when ships used to cross the Atlantic Ocean from the Western European shores to the West Indies and towards South America and North America. Now, these trade winds used to help the ships to be pushed in the direction of their destination. These trade winds blow from subtropical high pressure, that is at 30° north and 30° south, towards the equator. In the northern hemisphere, they blow from the northeast. Here you can see they are blowing from the northeast, and in the southern hemisphere, they blow from the southeast towards the northwest. The trades are most regular in strength and direction among the planetary winds. On reaching close to the equator, the trade winds of the northern and southern hemisphere clash with one another, and they rise as convectional air currents, causing heavy rainfall in the equatorial regions. Next we come to the Westerlies. The Westerlies are also known as the anti-trades. They blow from the subtropical high pressure belt to the subpolar low pressure belts on both the hemispheres. In northern hemisphere, they blow from southwest to northeast, and in the southern hemisphere, they blow from northwest to southeast. They are not as constant in strength and direction as the trades which blow over here. As a result, they are characterized by cyclones and anticyclones. Thus, the temperate regions over which the westerlies blow have a variable climate. They are more constant in the southern hemisphere, where there is lack of land, because in the southern hemisphere we have large expanses of water than land. So they are very dominant in the latitudes of the 40s, 50s and 60s. They blow so strongly over here that they have been named as roaring 40s in the 40° south latitude. They are known as furious 50s in the 50° south latitudes and screaming 60s in the 60° south latitude. The onshore westerlies bring much rain to the western part of the continent. Just as the trades bring a lot of rain to the eastern part of the continents because they are blowing in an easterly direction, the westerlies bring a lot of rainfall in the western part of the continents, in North America, South America, Africa, Europe, as well as in Australia. The belt of westerlies, which move from north and south following the apparent movement of the sun, bring a lot of rainfall in the areas of 40° north and 40° south latitudes, and these areas are known as to be having the Mediterranean type of climate with a very important characteristic feature, that is they get or receive rain especially during the winters due to the migration of the sun. Now let us learn about the polar easterlies. Now these polar easterlies, they blow from the polar high pressure belt towards the subpolar low pressure belts at 60°, from 90° to 60° north and 60 degrees south latitude. In the northern hemisphere, these winds blow from northeast to southwest direction, and in the southern hemisphere, they blow from the southeast to the northwest direction. These are variable in speed and direction due to local weather disturbances, especially in the northern hemisphere. These winds are more regular in the southern hemisphere. Again, the reason is having less of land and more of water. So they become stronger and they blow with more consistency. The polar winds are deflected the most, as much as 90 degrees from their normal course, until they blow almost from the east. It appears as if they are blowing from the east. These winds are extremely dry and cold winds because they are blowing from polar ice-capped regions. They reduce the temperatures of many of the continents, especially in the northern hemisphere, and bring blizzards and snowstorms along with them whenever they are blowing with their utmost might. Now, seasonal shifting of the world pressure and wind belts occur due to the migration of the sun. Now, we all know that the sun migrates from the Tropic of Cancer to the Tropic of Capricorn, which results in the occurrence of seasons. Now, due to this migration, the wind as well as the pressure belts also begin to move along with the sun about 5 to 10 degrees to the north and 5 to 10 degrees to the south. As a result, some regions which are very dry during the summer, they come under the Westerlies, which are blowing over vast expanses of water, and they bring a lot of rain to the western part of the continents. This shifting of pressure belts is more prominently seen with the Westerlies because during the summers, the Westerlies move towards the north, bringing a lot of rain to the northeastern part of Europe, northwestern part of North America, tips of South America and Africa when they are having their summers. But as soon as the winter approaches, when the sun is moving towards the south, places like France, Spain, parts of northern Africa, they all come under the influence of the onshore westerlies, and they get a lot of rainfall during the winters. While during the summers, these same regions remain very, very dry. The same happens in the southern hemisphere, where very narrow strips of areas get rainfall during the summers from these westerlies, but most of the time they get their rainfall from the winter westerlies. That is, these areas come under the influence of the westerlies when the westerly winds are bringing rainfall as they blow over vast areas of water and seas. So, in this module, we have learnt about the different types of winds, and we have learnt about the planetary or the primary winds. In the later part of the lesson, we will be learning more about variable winds and other different types of winds. So that is what we have enough time for today. Thank you.